1 for the, 2 for the show, 3 for the, 4 for the dough, 5 for the, 6 for the.
A bit of a wake up for the brain.
Oh yes.
Ride on it, bet on it. You can put your life on it, dead on it. Some dough, some needing that bread money, that green, that color.
And as we get comfortable, we can pick it up.
More than I earn, but so what? And money can't buy love, but still it got your buck. So get your dollars worth. Go 1 for the money, 2 for the show and prove, 3 for the 20.
Hands are out in front, guys. I want you to use them if you need them. Otherwise, you could try things that.
I'm good.
Hands are always there. Okay.
Don't shake it. Come on.
Pushing really hard to this leg. Pushing from one leg. And then we'll have a look at coming back down. Still holding onto the bar.
How far will you go? Try to sell your soul. Money is time. We all on the grind. We all on the grind.
Gotta get it, y'all. Spin it low, limit all in it, y'all. Killing for it, still it, hoes, giving draws. Pivot through the city, gon' live it. Full digits, don't get it, don't live it all. This is so critical with it. Plan it all, send it all.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
And then getting your step to the next one. That's fine. 1 step, next one.
Back in the days of hood, it used to be 1,000. Now from inflation, the plan is rerouted. It's getting more violent, it's getting more rowdy. Resources running low, gotta even buy water. It's all about the dollar, a holler dog on it. It got so much power, they put God on it. And what do we trust now to get us through your moments? Some people say faith, but you gotta have moments.
1 for the, 2 for the show, 3 for the, 4 for the dough, 5 for the, 6 for the flow. I'm so get the play dough. I get money.
Combine that with the reach for the top and see what we get. Out the parkour prison. Good, over, down.
So, for example, something I want to test is that foot was badly broken when I was a kid, right? So I always externally rotated on that foot. That's what my hip problem came for. So, like Sun, the Korean bastard, started to treat this, right? So suddenly that freed the external rotation because actually, as he treated it and reset everything correctly, this had never been used to pressing against the ground all the time. So it wasn't just this muscle that got beat up; it was this padding that wasn't there.
Right.
So over time, on squatting and doing everything on the outside, I would like to see calcification on that bone right here. And the problem with this toe here, the amount of muscle here and everything, so then that translates into the inside of the foot.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to, and for someone who balances as much as you two do it, it'd be very interesting to see.
See how it works out, because from years of having this sort of motion out, it's going to take a few years to get back to everything being equal.
But okay, so for people that don't know, you guys are into parkour. I know you're shy and everything, so you won't say how good you are. But how long have you been into parkour?
So for about 8 years now, just over 8 years.
And you?
13 years.
13 years.
Started in 2003, so it's been a little while.
So when did parkour start?
In France, in your homeland?
Yep.
Some ways.
It was, yeah.
And it started from a combination of roots. Part of it was kind of military training, and it kind of grew from a bunch of young kids growing up with inspirational families. And then through the training, they encountered a lot of challenges and tried to become physically strong first. That was the kind of goal in the beginning.
But all those guys made it famous like 15 years ago?
Yeah.
When was Banlieue 13? When did that come out, the movie?
2006, 7 maybe?
Oh yeah, so
it's been a while.
So you predate that?
Yes, predate.
So you're OG into parkour?
Yeah.
Yes you are, there you go. Yeah.
I think we're like 3rd, 4th generation. So.
Yeah,
but David Bell and those guys were like what, 2nd generation?
David and the other Yamak were 1st generation, and it's passed down from there, I guess, pretty quickly. So
that was cool. So you're there from the beginning.
Early days.
Yeah. And so we were saying from the fit lab, because you guys came through the seminar, we were talking about that, about how to apply all those things to what you guys do.
Yeah.
I use a lot of CrossFit example, obviously, because we're in a CrossFit gym and we had a lot of CrossFit people, but it applies just the same.
Yeah, I mean, we'd seen all the videos beforehand coming into the seminar, so we already had some idea of some elements of the system and the principles. But coming along and seeing the examples applied to a CrossFit environment, in our minds, we were applying it all to a parkour context.
Yeah.
And for us, it's just one bullet point after the other. It was like, does that line up? Yes. Does this line up? Yes. It does.
Yeah, which is great because I'm always looking for a way to disprove what I say, because then I'll have to obviously work on the kinks.
Right.
So I was very happy to see that. And then obviously I don't want to reach just CrossFit. It just happens to be mostly the people in the gym, but the point is movement.
It's got to start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. As I was saying, like most of the good athletes I've seen have a tendency to stay on the outside of their feet.
Right.
That's something you were doing too, right?
Yeah.
But then it changes the way you balance yourself.
It does.
And the way you land, I'm guessing. So did you land mostly on the outside?
I don't think to begin with.
Yeah.
I think when I first started parkour, maybe let's say the first 3-4 years before I started lifting, then I would make use my whole foot.
Yeah.
And then through lifting and thinking about displacement of external rotation, let's say, then I started to use the outside of my foot.
Well, you have stronger legs and everything. It's stronger than your hinge, so naturally you went toward external rotation. Did you do? I'm curious. Did you do external rotation like willingly, forcefully, or you just drifted toward that naturally? Or were you taught to like really push the knees out and all that?
I think we've always been conscious of alignment. We've always thought, well, knees in line with the toes, everything pointing forward. So I think we've probably strayed away from external or internal and just tried to be fairly neutral. But if we ever went one way, we'd always think push out, push out.
Yeah, push out. No, I'm curious. How that turned out. And everything. So because the concept where, I mean, with you guys it applies for everything because it's not just landing and balancing. There was actually the pulling.
Yeah.
We're working on that toward everything that was pull-ups, and I mean basically.
Yeah.
But that's, I mean that's a lot of what you guys do because when you climb, you're always here anyway.
Cool.
So
Usually
it's
there,
toward
exactly.
external rotation anyway.
Yeah.
So we'll be kind of going through them one at a time, each of those kind of categories of movement, and saying, okay, what sort of movement is this? Would it be internal? Would it be external?
Yeah.
And obviously, when you're moving quickly, it's hard to apply these principles in real time,
Yeah,
which is why you need the basic exercises to teach you how to do the proper movements. And then it becomes a habit. You can apply it to what you do. It's automatic.
And it will become natural.
It'll take time.
It's, like basic movements at first, one at a time, and then dissect it, and then make it simple, and then let them grow from there.
We teach people how to land first. If you learn to land before you jump,
So
we always thought balls of the feet, good position for the back, sitting back into the posterior chain rather than the quads. There's always been principles that have been in place. I haven't considered as much the internal, external rotation. So listening to the stuff from the seminar, it's been really enlightening to see your opinions on those. And then since then, we've been testing it a little bit to see how we feel.
Yes.
And suddenly the positions are feeling a little stronger.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's not a major difference, but normally the joint should be in a better position.
Yeah.
Things should ache a little bit less.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because we were talking about your wrist, basically.
That's right.
So
you noticed it straight away.
Well, I noticed that the right lat.
Yeah, the right lat
was
working.
Yeah, it was working, but not enough for the left lat. So that created an external rotation on the left, and that means every time you landed, that forced a certain torque on the wrist. That eventually created pain, basically.
Yeah, and it's not a big one, but it's definitely something I've felt for the last couple of months, and I'm still aware of it. But it was interesting when we were just warming up and doing some of our own exercises. You immediately pointed out, "Do you have a sore wrist?" And I was like, "Yes, I do."
Yeah, because I could see the lat wasn't working the way it should, and you are at such a high level of performance that any little thing is going to show. Because you guys are pushing the limit, so they're actually really, really good at parkour. So you're talking jumping from building to building. The thing is, if someone here misses a thruster, they drop it.
Yeah.
If you miss, the consequences are
things change.
More, a bit more dangerous.
So it is important that our bodies work in the right way and that we have that feedback to the brain. So hearing that the lat's not working, it's a little scary in the beginning. You're thinking, well, when is the point where it will just like the switch will go? You know? I can compensate for so long, but eventually.
Yeah, but plus me, I look at it is like if things are not aligned properly, then you grind a little bit more every day, and at the level you're doing it, it's a tremendous difference in the long run.
Right.
It might not be something that is that major today, but over time, it's got to be a major difference. But it's the same thing. Like to me, I look at it. For me, it's all the little stuff. Is internal rotation allowing you to have a better landing position, will grind your knee less, which means how many times did you land? How many times do you land per session? With how much force?
In the
because
hundreds.
people don't understand. Like sometimes, usually what's the differential? Like you jump from 3, 4, 5 feet high?
Sometimes it depends on the obstacle what we're doing the day. Obviously, we learn how to land softly and transfer the momentum into a roll to transfer downwards momentum into forwards. So there's ways of reducing the impact quite heavily. But again, we can further reduce the amount of strain it has on the body if we're doing it correctly. So It's been a lot of food for thought at the seminar at the weekend. We've really spent the last couple of days digesting a lot of it and just trying to apply parts of it to what we do. So it's going to take some time to digest and put into practice, but that's, if you go 10 years or 13 years in one direction, then it's going to take a little bit of time to come back.
And
go
I
somewhere
don't,
else.
but that's the thing though, is you should play with it so much on basic stuff before.
Yeah.
I think it will happen naturally in what you guys do. I don't expect anybody to go and snatch max weight with internal rotation the first day, because I think that'd be a mistake.
Yeah.
You don't want to reverse, your body's not ready for it. So like if you try to change the rotation landing, you're probably going to kill yourself.
Yeah.
Pop an ankle or some shit like that. So
So it's back to basics, and it's back to the drawing board and some movements, but as you say, I think getting there the second time with good technique will be faster than getting there the first time. So we're not afraid to go back to basics and work on those. It's something we do all the time anyway.
Yeah.
But just with something new to think about will be an interesting period for us, I think.
Well, you guys are such good athletes. You're going to react to it really fast. But from what I saw, the body craves this, because that's. I don't think. I mean, to me, the body is not a blank state in the sense of evolution got us here a certain way. So we're not a blank state. We're supposed to do things a certain way. There are certain guidelines, and it's not like, oh yeah, but I've been doing it long enough. No, if you do it long enough the wrong way, it's always There's no going around that one. So I think your body is craving for it, and the second you start to do things right, it'll just jump on it.
It's going to feel better
right away, and then suddenly perform goes up, and then that's it. One time, and suddenly you're going to go toward that because your body will be that. Yeah.
So even things like fixing our lats and bringing the right one up to where the left one is, let's say, is going to make a difference to where your traps are at when you're catching on a wall, etc. You know you're moving better.
And then that, but even something like as trivial at first as that wrist pain, over time you start to avoid it. You have a chance, you go a little bit toward the left instead of going toward the right. So before you know it, now you start to load toward the left every time, and now you're starting to get more imbalance and more imbalance. Because you see that on the bench, for example, like this starts to hurt, people start to move ever so slightly, but you do it enough.
It will start small and it will build over the years.
Well, and then like the second time you jam a little bit, you go ooh, and so now the next 2 sessions you're turning, and then you come back and you go ooh, I'm going to be careful.
Exactly.
And before you know it, you've built everything, and now the lad works even less because you catch even less. And before that's how really you pop something. In chess, I always say it's not the first mistake that kills you; it's the second one. And that's what I see. It's not like that's not that big of a deal, but then before you know it, and so this reinforces this, that reinforces that, that reinforces this, and then you start to play ping pong.
It's been super cool because it would have taken me a long time to figure out that this had anything to do with this, if I ever got that far. I'd have to talk to a lot of specialists and kind of been given advice in different areas, but it's been nice to have a system to look at and say, how does it apply to me as an athlete, and then the people that we coach. So for me to know this is connected to this means that I can work on that, fix that. So it's a nice little blueprint to go somewhere.
I'm really, really curious to see where you guys take it into parkour. And if it makes it easier for them to pull themselves. Because you're talking about, you have people that do like high skill movements at certain speed in certain conditions. So it's, I know you have a lot of different people, you almost have everybody coming to see you guys, but you're taking normal people into extreme situations.
Eventually.
So, I mean, it's scary no matter what. And so I'd be very curious to see how joints and mentally they react to that too. Like even the mental aspect of it, because to me, like people ask, am I supposed to think internal versus external? I was like, it's actually a lot easier than having to position your back and just memorizing where to put your. Because if you look, that's what they're making you do when they're making you snatch, is memorize position. And to me, that's wrong. So I talk about the chess versus the middle game, the opening, middle game, end game. The snatch right now, it's not even a middle game, it's an end game. It's a memorize the position. At the bottom, this is your back. Middle part, this is your back. And then at the end part, this is your back. But that's, by definition, you're doing it wrong. If it's one movement, it should flow. And you should not have to go, like back position versus core versus wrist versus all this. That's the thing is people, same thing as chess, they want openings. Okay, so then once I move like this, what do I do? If you understand how the pieces move correctly, you don't need to ask. It's obvious what they're going to do next. Why are you asking this? It should, depending on the person, it's going to change anyway. And so, to me, that's the same thing. Is they want memorization instead of understanding how you move correctly. If to hinge you need to internally rotate, done. The second pull, it's a hinge, that's all you have to think about, internally rotate, it's over.
And that was really refreshing about the seminar. I think a lot of the things that you go to learn stuff, you kind of get told what to do. So do this, do this, do this, it will lead to that. Whereas we spent most of the weekend going through just upper level thinking stuff and principles that we can then apply to whatever. So people left being able to apply this to weightlifting, CrossFit, yoga, parkour, whatever, because we went for foundations and ideas and principles rather than this is how you snatch properly, or this is how you do GHT stuff properly. So much more applicable.
Your guys are the only people who did not ask for what for the audience, because you see they couldn't help each other.
Yeah, and I think in a way we were lucky in that way because we had to create the what anyway because we're thinking about it in parkour terms.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're already thinking
cool.
of why. We didn't have too many questions because there was a lot to take in. We need time to digest. And then we start to create.
That was so much. That's so much better because that's exactly what I want. Because I could tell you guys were like, okay, but so how am I going to apply that?
Yeah.
Instead of people going like, just tell me how to turn the lights on.
Yeah.
One of the really interesting things you talked about was the sport of CrossFit versus the training system.
Yeah.
And we were applying that in our heads to parkour as well because we've been aware for quite a while that parkour is not as holistic or well-rounded as people think it is. It's very anterior dominant. And people end up with a lot of shoulder problems and knee problems if they train a certain way.
Wait, your lats are not really? Really?
I would say they potentially start to switch.
Everyone in parkour ends up here and here and here and here.
No shit.
So I think we have similar to CrossFit.
You pull so much.
That's the difference between the sport and the training system, I guess. We've been aware that there's issues, so we've tried over the years to rebalance those with
that's fascinating.
weighted chin-ups and with squats and with deadlifts. So we've been focusing on trying to fix these things.
Oh, by the way, are you successful? Okay, so let me ask you a question.
Right.
How is the approach of parkour people toward, not strength and conditioning, but toward doing assistance work?
All right.
Okay, because Jiu-Jitsu guys, for example,
split in the community.
Jiu-Jitsu is 20 years behind.
Right.
There's literally an argument where they're saying like, don't do strength work.
We had that
Don't
argument
lift
about
weight.
5 years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago.
when a lot of the second, third
5.
generation guys were a bit younger, including myself, we were like, oh, we don't need that stuff.
Bodyweight,
Just do
all the way.
Parkour is well-rounded, it's fine.
Did you did you even do like body weight on the side or just parkour?
just bodyweight stuff.
But that
So
was-
push-ups,
at least you did some,
pull-ups,
okay,
pistols, those sort of
At least there's some of that. So is that right now the assistance work for parkour is bodyweight stuff?
No, the community has now changed. We've got to the
Starting to
point
shift.
where there's squats, there's deadlifts, there's weighted chin-ups, there is more conditioning side and stuff on the side. So we are thinking forward and we're thinking, how do we supplement what we do with strength conditioning and with assistance work? So there's a lot of thought going into that already. So it was interesting to see, again, the box that we had up on the wall where trying to balance that box, and we've been applying parkour to those four corners ourselves, identifying weaknesses that we have in the system and stuff that we already do to some extent. And it's been really interesting to look at it from that perspective and see a lot of holes and say, okay, well now we've got to start thinking, how do we plug those holes in some ways?
So parkour, I mean, is a little bit split.
Yeah, the community right now
Is a bit split over this?
Yeah, some of them are living a little bit in the past of just do parkour, you'll be
Just
fine.
technical work, yeah.
But the guys that have been training more than 10 years realize that you need to do some sort of assistance work to rebalance those muscle groups. Or be in
You need to balance the box, otherwise you break.
it.
It's funny, like it's still, like no matter what, how smart people are, no matter how educated and everything, with something like parkour, where there's obviously so much body awareness, they still refuse to approach it as, that's interesting.
They thought it was unique, and if you look at any other sport, there has to be assistance there.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
It's not
Yeah.
unique.
Yeah, no, but like you should see MMA.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. There was a conversation about Jones, like the 205, and then he said like the reason I didn't fight well in like I can't remember which fight is because I did powerlifting. And one of the strength coaches in MMA used that as saying, see,
He said so.
lifting heavy is bad for you.
Yeah.
It makes you
One
slow.
comment.
I was like, so the guy on coke who uses an excuse is your scientific proof that the system of lifting doesn't work. I'm like, that's fascinating. The way I like how scientific this sounds, by the way. So no. It's not you guys. That's human nature. It has to be because But remember, by the way, CrossFit 5 years ago, I was saying assistance work, and everybody was laughing at me, saying we don't do bodybuilding.
Just do CrossFit. That was the approach.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Early CrossFit? Oh yeah.
Things have
No.
changed.
Like that's what they were making fun of. I mean, for different reasons. Bodybuilding. We don't do bicep curls. We don't do assistance work. We just do functional movement. The thing at first is, if it's not a functional movement, we don't do it.
Right.
And actually, there's early talk from Glassman saying, don't do any assistance work. Making that's what the huge push against global gyms was.
Yeah.
It's like we don't do the curls. We don't do all that stuff. Like they were laughing in my face 5 years ago, all of them.
And suddenly everyone's doing this.
Same people coming now, back then were slamming the doors in my face. So I'm sure you guys went through that, right?
Oh, exactly the same.
Because I know you guys are really high level in parkour. So did you get to? Because me, I come from nowhere. Nobody knows me in CrossFit. I was just a guy with a small gym that started to go on the podcast and training Valerie, and I made my way like one block at a time, which was easier for me because I never had haters because of that. But you guys started from the top, so must have been rough at first, right?
I guess our particular group at Parkour Generations, we're kind of seen as the granddads in some ways. Like, we're kind of the guys that are trying to, I guess, plug the holes and find ways of making people stronger and not just being able to jump further. So more well-rounded, and again, balancing the box.
But it's funny because that sounds like the same argument I have a CrossFit box versus a CrossFit Games. Because everybody knows parkour because of the YouTube videos, just like everybody knows CrossFit because of the CrossFit Games. Yeah. And you trying to teach regular people and doing it technically sound and not kill people and not hurt them. So it's really the same argument every time.
Exactly the same. What you see on YouTube at the games is not the CrossFit training system. And what you see on YouTube of parkour is not the training system. It's just the end product of this person can do that.
Of excessively
one person
courageous and gifted people, right?
You don't see the training that goes on behind that. And that's kind of what we're trying to do, is highlight how that person got to there.
So did you catch a lot of shit at first? For lifting weights, because I'm guessing you're one of the early ones to squat and deadlift and do stuff like that.
One of the early adopters. There was groups before me that even I was saying, I'm not sure these guys are right. We shouldn't be doing weight training. And then one day I was like, fuck it, they're right. And I was wrong the whole time. And I stood up and said that. I put it on my blog, I made some mistakes there.
Okay. What did they say? Did they say like it's going to make you slow?
The original argument was that it would make me slow and I wouldn't be able to translate that into the movement and this and this and this and this.
Oh God, I love this.
But I was young and stupid.
No, but I just want to know what their reaction was when you said you should lift weights.
Two things. One group was like, okay, and quite open-minded, let's have a look. And the other ones were like, he's gone crazy. He's joined those guys.
That's it, he's done.
So there's a lot of resistance.
He's never going to be good
again.
Are
you ever going to do parkour again? Are you still training parkour?
Oh my God, it's so funny.
I think whether it's martial arts, CrossFit or parkour, it seems like we've all gone through that stage of we've got to get smarter, and there's been some resistance.
You know why?
Why is that?
Because we all got hurt.
Yeah, okay.
That's why. Eventually, the guys that are always in their 20s going like, I just need to do jiu-jitsu. I'm like, it's the same thing CrossFit. No, CrossFit is enough. I'm like, talk to me in 3 years. Yeah, it's the same stuff. But honestly, that's the same. I think that's the only reason people listen to me now is because the barbell Shrek at the right time, where people started to see that not being able to lift your arm up is a problem. At first, nobody there talked about it. There's like, again, the dirty secret of CrossFit is not steroids. It's ibuprofen. Everybody thinks the top guy, everybody's on steroids in CrossFit. That's not true at all. But everybody is on ibuprofen. Right. And that's the dirty secret. And I think now you see that even like lower than the games, but even lower the regionals, like the open level, where guys are like, every day. And I think that's why they started listening to me, honestly. Because the shit was about to hit the fan and people are like, okay. Like, for example, I was jesting when I say, like, if you're 25 and you can't raise your arm in the morning without being in pain, that's a bad sign. Yeah. That was a joke. That was me jesting. I had 50 emails saying, oh man, you don't understand. That just resonated with me so much. Because that's it. And I'm like, really? Yeah. And you never thought that was okay. So that's why I think the thing really, because I caught it at the right time.
Yeah. And it's the people that were in their 20s and now getting towards their 30s and beyond who realize, now I'm feeling a bit more pain than I did 10 years ago. So how do I fix that? And they start getting a bit more involved in thinking rather than just doing the thing.
So are you trying to get people that come to you to learn parkour, right? Are you trying to get them toward more exercises on the side and everything?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, because your thing is parkour, your OG and everything. Are you trying to use parkour to get people fitter now? Do you look at it as making a difference in their life? I'm very curious to see how you guys look at it.
Yes. So all of those things, stronger, fitter, but also just enjoying moving again, especially for the everyday person who maybe hasn't moved as an adult, potentially.
Yes.
So just getting them moving, starting with really small things like even a line on the floor to balance, and then maybe a curb, which is only 5 centimeters off, and then eventually, when people feel comfortable, we raise it up. Even working just with the bench, which is very low level, vaulting, moving around, doing some small movement with that, rolling. Which is
they haven't done that in 20 years, I'm sure. Yeah, that's for sure.
So lots of ground level movements, and there's more fun to be had at ground level anyway.
There's more to do. You see it on YouTube on the rooftops, but most of the great training spots in parkour are this high off the floor.
My stomach quivers watching the video, so fuck going this. But just watching it, I'm like, oh god, I feel sick. I can't watch. So it's funny because I go at it the same way now. Like the CrossFit athletes are a hobby for me. Right. It's fixing grandma.
That's the interesting part.
Isn't it funny? Because at first, like again, education of fitness, it's always when you're good, you go train the best in the world. That's actually, no, I don't want to say boring because that's not true, but it's
not as
less,
rewarding, to be honest.
it's not as rewarding as grandma who can barely move and then 6 months later is doing cartwheels.
That's
I know it's funny.
That's
That's the funniest, that's the greatest feeling ever with this. Me, it's people I can't move, suddenly they can do something and you have that thing in their eyes when they almost like cry because they're so happy.
That's it.
That's the
best
part right there.
We feel the greatest reward when we take someone who is 45 years old, haven't done sport in 10 years, and they come in and we just get them to realize that they have got some potential still. They can still move, they can still climb over things, they can still run, jump, and climb. So once they realize that, they think, okay, they come back next time. And I guess our biggest goal in parkour is to find people that, is to kind of expose people to challenge again, like small challenges that they can overcome. And then once they do that, they realize they can apply that same mindset of overcoming challenge to other things in their lives. So, okay, suddenly it doesn't seem so scary that my bank balance is this, or I've got to pay the rent.
That's cool. I do the same thing with the powder, man. It's awesome. I love this. That's really, really cool.
Next month. So it's a mindset thing, and we're more interested in building unbreakable people than we are about making them jump further.
That's cool, because that's exactly why I created the system. Because for me, there had to be a way to. Okay, so great athletes get away with stuff all the time, even though if they shouldn't, they always get away with stuff. But that was a little bit my problem with the system the way it's created now with memorization. I'm like, what if the person cannot do that? Right. We have to have a system to be able to assess the problem and where it starts. Instead of just, like, just go do this, like just a what and everything. Like, because I had so many people coming with different problems, but the pattern was the same. I was like, there's got to be an underlying thing there, where when this pattern means this, therefore we can assess it through different people and everything to have a proper diagnosis of a problem instead of saying this is where you're hurt. So the point of the system was to have basically a tool to diagnose these people when they come in. And so that's, I think, can be used for all sports. Because when someone can pull themselves up on one side versus the other, it's not enough to say, it's because their shoulder hurts. I'm like, is there a next step, or are we saying they're screwed for life? I refuse to accept that.
So the biggest thing we noticed at the weekend was how simple the system seemed. It was pretty elegant and streamlined, and there wasn't too much. You stripped it down to small, step-by-step pieces that you can assess someone with very quickly, and that is quite interesting to us. If you can take someone on day one, notice this, and this doesn't work. Now we can start fixing it, rather than a 3-month process of identifying what's wrong.
But that was the main thing for me that I worked so hard for the last 5 years, is finding the simplest way possible, but not a simplistic way possible. It's always simplistic or excessively complicated. I was like, no, like everything else in life, like simplicity is elegant. That's usually when I know when I'm right. You come down to something that is very simple, not simplistic, simple and elegant. It's the same thing when you guys move. When someone moves well, you don't need to be told, you see it. There's an elegance to it. But someone who uses 3 movements instead of 1 is always ugly. There's an elegance in simplicity.
There's nothing extra. Or
simplistic is ugly. At least you're missing an underlying truth, basically. And so I worked on the system, not to be simplistic, but to be simple, because then I know I get to the simplest route possible, and there's an elegance to that.
If it's getting more and more complicated and suddenly it all ties together with a simple idea, you probably hit the end point where you're like, that's the answer. If it all just makes sense and falls into place simply, then you probably reach something useful.
And that's why it hit in my head when I did the movement matrix. That's when I knew I had it. It's because it was like 4 patterns, 2 rotation. I was like, that's it. That was my E equals MC square. I knew right away because there was an elegance to it, but that suddenly every movement can be. It's like a funnel. Everything I could put any movement into that one, and a simple answer comes out of it. That's when I knew I was right. Is the elegance of it, the simplicity. I was like, that's the one, because everything funneled into it, and any movement in parkour, I can.
That was the cool thing. We only saw you from the videos in the beginning, and watching those, where we're applying already in our heads the parkour movements to what you were saying. And already we were thinking, actually, it works for this too. So we became more interested. And when we attended the seminar, we got more and more of the principles and the ideas behind it. And we were just sitting there quiet for most of it and making notes as fast as we could. Every time we were like, this applies to parkour in this way, and like scribble. So. And then we spent both evenings just like we switched notepads.
We switched notepads.
I read yours and you read mine, and it
still
still made sense. So I was very interested to see what's next. Like, how do we apply parkour to the box and the principles and the systems, and what exercises do we need to be doing to fix?
I want to know all this.
That's our next step now.
So that's when we'll do the second thing. Is a few months from now when you guys start to phase 2, because I'm phase 1. Phase 2 is I want people to go in and develop it for their system and their stuff. So really curious to see what you guys
We'll let you know
We're
what we come up with,
excited.
and we can put our heads together and see what we think.
I'm gonna be so curious to see how you guys go at it. Because I don't do enough rotation and type rotation. I don't do enough balancing. I don't do any other. My biggest bias is that I deal with. That's what when I train with you guys. That's exactly that's when I realize the most is I deal with outside objects.
Right.
I lift people. I lift awkward stuff. I lift bars. I never lift myself. I don't know enough. I used to do a lot of body weight movement for jiu-jitsu, but I got away going toward the strength stuff, and that is a problem. I'm starting to put it back in. But the stuff you guys made me do was balancing, where suddenly it wasn't about focusing about something else, he was focusing about me. By the way, that was mentally was awesome because it was so relaxing.
You have to stay just here.
Well, yeah, but it was so relaxing because you didn't have to stress about something else. It was just me.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so
If
relaxing.
you think about breakfast or stress, then you just fall off the bar straight away.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you've got to be
exactly.
present
So
in
it was
that-
just
in that moment.
so being present. Me, I'm used to it with the stuff I do because
Right.
you cannot not be present with a 1,000-pound yoke, but he's still dealing with something else. Me, it was just me. That was the most relaxing training session I had in the last 10 years.
That's really cool.
It was awesome, and so, but I've still got competitive and go crazy. And my left foot was, it was aching so bad. Like we're talking about this, I could barely walk.
That's what we want.
Because I jumped like 100 times
The
off the
wall
left
runs
foot.
as well.
Yeah,
You have to
exactly.
push from the
This
whole
was
foot.
so fucking sore.
Good to hear.
But everything else was
different
fine. But this,
Just-
killing me. Like my feet were destroyed. It was so interesting.
That's
But
cool.
it was fascinating to just think about me, like just lifting me. So obviously I don't do enough balancing. Even though I have a hold in my box,
Yeah.
hold equals balance. I do not work on. I thought again for me. See, that's my bias. I'm picking something. I'm holding it. No, sometimes go do a balance. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that hit me when I was doing the stuff with you because I was like, it's been so long since I've done this.
That's cool.
Yeah, and the balance it worked. That's a hold. There it is. I mean, and I don't do enough of that.
Yeah.
And that really struck me when I did the parkour with you. There was a bunch of stuff. I was like, see, you got away from that.
Yeah.
And the twisting and the jumping on one side and all this. That was awesome because that's part of my system. But I took it out because like wanting to be stronger and everything. That's my own bias. So
We're
I
all gonna have
can't
it.
wait
Yeah.
to see how you guys put that system in practical because then I can steal from you.
That's it.
That'd be really cool, yeah.
Change to do in the future. Because our holes are in different places. We have a couple of those things you mentioned, but we also have big holes in other areas, like our max strength stuff. If you look at just the pure stuff, it's not there. So by rebalancing that and again getting the box to be more equal, I think we're going to get better.
Yeah.
Our students are going to get better,
Yeah.
and it's going to lead to
Everybody's
big
going to
change.
get better because I'm keenly aware of my own biases when it comes to training, and it affects the way I think sometimes because I don't think about it. Like balancing was not enough. I just don't think about it. Honestly, I forget. I'm so busy doing everything else. It's just, I'm never going to be as good of a specialist toward balance as you guys. So I'll never spend enough time thinking about it. So it'll be awesome to have you guys seeing how that applies, all the whole stuff and the balancing. And
We'll do our homework and we'll come back and let you know what we find.
Yeah, I can't wait for that one because I'll never be that good at this. So it's really cool.
Yeah, no, we're super happy to invest that time because it's exciting for us.
Oh, no, that's
Yeah.
great.
You know,
Yeah,
and
that's
then
awesome.
we have to think also about in regards to the assistance work. We have like indoor and we have outdoor because we also run outdoor classes, and some of our students only come to the outdoor classes. So how can we apply assistance work in an outdoor environment just with each other?
We
That
have
will
no
still
equipment.
fill
What do we
everything.
do?
So we're going to have A and B.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah,
So
working
that
on
we
external
can-
internal rotation.
so that everyone can-
without the weight, without the
Without equipment, what do we do?
without the
Potentially
openers.
carries and things like this, which we are missing.
Yeah, but you see, that's a part I don't do. Like, for example, working on internal rotation while stepping on something. Because me, I'm the lazy. I get a bar, I use weight, I use something else. I create the rotation, but by fighting something. Right. I should also learn to create rotation just by lifting my own body weight, going on the stool, catching,
finding ways to do that.
like, coming down. That's just body awareness.
Yeah.
It should be done.
Exactly. We've done some
My
work
bias
with,
is toward moving somebody else. So
So we've got to find out what we can do, I guess, is maybe come up with some ideas as to how to move your body and create the same sort of effect in some ways.
yeah, but that's
It takes
'cause
time.
Yeah, no, of course. But I've been playing with stuff. You're just holding a squat and then going internal, external, just at the bottom of a squat without
that
weight,
out.
just and stuff
As
like
part
that.
of a
Because
warm-up even,
yeah,
like with
but
the
you can do
class.
this on one leg when you go jump
it.
on. That's
Right.
gonna be cool.
Yeah.
See, I don't do any of that, so that's
And
gonna
I
be
found
really
the
cool.
openers, some of the openers, especially the bicep openers, were very, very familiar in feeling to what it feels to work on the gymnastics levers, like
Yes,
the front lever and
that's exactly.
that
I stole it
internal
from
emphasis.
gymnastics. Yeah.
So I can see how it can be done with a body weight, It's going to take a little bit more time.
The only problem with that, done with body weight, is only certain people can do it.
Okay.
That's why I did it
There's
with
a
weight.
feeling, yeah.
And because they just
There's
can't.
no-
Like grandma
How do
cannot
you
do
get
this.
there? Exactly.
How do you get to a level when you're grandma?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they'll pop way before they get into
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
So some of the gymnastic movements are not applicable.
Yeah.
That was always my problem. Again, my system, and that's where I struggle, was always to build something where when grandma comes in, it has to apply
has to
to
work
her.
for her. Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing.
That's what I like the most, though.
Yeah.
About your
Yeah.
system,
Well, yeah,
is
but that was the whole idea.
Yeah. I
Is
love
if
that.
it doesn't apply to everybody, something's wrong. I mean, not necessarily wrong, but it's incomplete.
It needs work. Yeah.
It needs work. That's why always again going to the simplest form, because it has to apply to everybody. And that's where I was when I saw the movement matrix with internal external rotation, I was like, that applies to any movement on anybody.
Exactly.
That's when I knew I had it.
Yep.
And
So
that's
we're
yeah.
going to have to spend some time working on that.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's going to be a good adventure, I think.
Yeah, no, it's
Oh, I can't wait. Because you're doing it so far from the other side, it's awesome. I can't wait to see you guys.
We'll meet in the middle at some point.
Yeah, exactly. No, wow, I'll keep training with you because I need to go back to doing more.
That's cool.
Yeah, I got way too specialized about just pure weights. So even if we go back to jiu-jitsu, it'll be interesting to see doing more body weight. The only body weight stuff I did was what they call a gymnastic natural, which is
Right.
on the ground, a lot of rolling and everything, but we don't do balancing in jiu-jitsu. We don't do,
Okay.
there's no jumping, there's no, you know, when they say moving like a monkey, monkeys jump, they hang,
Yeah.
they balance. A lot more. Like all my work on jiu-jitsu has been done on the ground, always on all four and everything. It'll be great to also work on standing up and jumping and holding, how that transfers to better body awareness and all that stuff.
yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that'd be
Exciting
so
times.
cool.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
I can't wait to see because so far that'll be very exciting.
A couple of months, we'll sit down and discuss it.
Yeah. No, because I'm very happy you guys came to the seminar, so that's cool because it's cool to do it, but I want people away from CrossFit into it and everything. Like I
Everyone,
want,
yeah.
I want to see the holes in the system so I can make it better. So it's cool to have it from something so opposite from what I do. I mean, at the end, it's exactly the same because movement is movement.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I have my own biases when it comes to training, and so it's great to see someone from the other side.
Yeah.
It'll be really cool. Can't wait to see that one.
Can't wait.
So we'll do the episode 2 in a few months when I come back to London, and then
Good deal.
we'll have it.
And we'll see what we have.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Thank you guys.